So, silver and its practicality. I'm afraid I've got bad news for you if you think silver is the be-all and end-all for the world coming to an end, or you requiring it to reset wealth when the brown stuff has cleared the fan. It's just too big and impractical and not valuable enough. There is a misconception that silver is valuable. It's really not in the grand scheme of things. Gold is where the value really is, and I'm afraid that's where the value will continue to be for the considerable future. So I wanted today to talk about the practicality of silver and how it's not your friend if you really needed it to be in a bug out scenario. But there is still a really important role for silver to play in your future financial planning and how you want to invest in precious metals. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another precious metal ramble. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome to another precious metal ramble. Now we're going to talk today about the impracticality of silver in a pretty emergency scenario, a bug out scenario, or perhaps there's just, God forbid, something that happens, a natural disaster, or even, we don't like to think about it in the Western world, but real brown stuff hit the fan scenario. Could you take your stack with you? And the answer for silver is undoubtedly going to be no. If you have a small stack of silver, then sure, yes, you can. But generally speaking, if you've got a decent stack of silver, it's going to be more of a liability than actually a practical solution to storing your wealth through those brown stuff hit the fan scenarios. So for those of you who would go down to the comment section to moan and lambast me for taking 10 to 15 minutes to talk about a particular subject, that is the subject. Silver is too bulky and impractical. It's just not valuable enough compared with gold. I am going to talk for 10 to 15 minutes about some of the interesting things about that fact and how we have evolved that throughout human history. Jewelry, coins have formed that backbone of portable wealth throughout history. What can we learn from the past? How can we learn from that to instill something that's better for us in the future, if indeed you are very worried about this kind of thing? And like I say, in the sort of Western world societies, we don't really pay much attention to that anymore, but we need only look back 80 years to the Second World War, even, wait, 80? No, a bit more. 85 years now to the Second World War, where people were displaced en masse, and it could happen again. And if that does happen, are you going to lug around kilos upon kilos upon kilos of silver? Not very practical. So, but the world has changed a lot. We'll talk about that as well, because the value of this stuff compared with how it used to be is very different. But anyway, we digress. That's what we do best here on this channel. If you're enjoying as we go, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. We are at 64,000 subscribers now, which is incredible. So we're going to continue our march onwards up to that mythical 100,000. But there's a 70,000 milestone coming probably next year, which we'll celebrate. So thank you for subscribing if you have. If you're already a subscriber, fantastic. So, portable wealth, let's go. Oh, another little fun thing for you all to do. Have a guess down in the comment section how many half sovereigns that we've got in this beautiful pile here. If somebody guesses it correctly, I'm afraid there won't be any prize or anything, but I'll certainly pin your comment and say well done. Now that's one thing that we can start with. So there are a vast number of half sovereigns here, and valued at around, gosh, what are they now? £240 a sovereign, something like that. There is a lot of wealth on the table here. Whilst you're having a guess at how many sovereigns are there, have a guess at the wealth count that is there as well. And you saw it was in this tiny little tube here at the start of the video. And that's super practical. I can put that in one, I can conceal that in one hand, let alone put that in my pocket. The weight of that many sovereigns is tiny, immaterial to, you know, you've got a heavier phone in your pocket than that much precious metal. So you can really see the difference compared with something like this. And when silver has the ratio of 80 plus to 1 as a value ratio, it really is very impractical as an sort of investment vehicle for those doomsday scenarios. If you require silver because you think that there's going to be a financial collapse and currencies are going to go to zero, the practicality of silver is not going to be your friend. There is most assuredly many, many case studies to prove that. And you've only got to look at recent history for example, Zimbabwe and Venezuela, for currencies devaluing to the point where there's just no point in even having the cash, because you take the cash out of the bank in the morning and it's devalued by the afternoon. That's not something you want. In those scenarios, you really need precious metals to help you through. Silver's just not going to be valuable enough. You've got to have an awful lot of silver to help you get through those to the other side and transport all that wealth through. And if you're in an unstable country and there's things happening and there's wars happening, and that's happening more in this world right now, we're seeing so many people displaced by wars and other situations happening that it could theoretically be something to worry about for us in the future. Now, I'm not a doom and gloom person. I'm not a stacker that's got a basement full of guns, ammo, food, gold, and silver. But I am also at the same time somebody who is practical in that I have, I think, got, it's more around the natural disaster side of things. So if there was a situation where I was required to leave my home for whatever reason it might be, I don't want to necessarily just leave a boatload of precious metals. I don't store a great deal at home anyway. The vast majority is put in safety deposit box. But I am always conscious of the fact that having something that you need is, what's the phrase? Having something that you need... No, it's don't having something that you need is bad. I can't remember what the phrase is. Remind me in the comment section what it is. There's a good phrase there that if you don't have something that you need, it's really bad. But if you need something you don't have, then that's even worse. So definitely worth for anyone to have some of it stored securely at home. But for the vast majority of people, that sort of world doesn't really come into play. And I'm not somebody who has copious amounts of, sort of fears of this world collapsing and needing to bug out and defend myself from hordes of zombies and everything. And to be fair, lots of people around this world haven't really felt that way either for a very long time. And you've only got to look at some of the historical examples. And this is why I've got some of the sort of jewelry side of things out that we've got here. This is, I say jewelry in inverted commas, something that I made myself. Before anyone shouts at me, I didn't drill a hole through this coin. It was a hold coin anyway, and this is just a little 9-carat gold chain, and I wear it. It's something that I have on me at all times, not because I think that the world's going to suddenly require me to have the equivalent of a sovereign's worth of gold around my neck at any given time, but because I'm a coin noob and I love coins and I just love having them on me. The other things that we've got here are interesting as well. So I brought these rings out. These are coin rings, by the way, fantastic stuff that I've had. So I purchased the gold coin ring here from Change You Can Wear. Beautiful, love it, absolutely stunning. It's from a gold eagle. And the other coins here that we've got are, one is a Morgan dollar and one's a half dollar. The half dollar was gifted to me by one of my subscribers, and the Morgan dollar is something that I've had for a very long time. Before I even started stacking silver, I got this. So really, really cool things to have. But rings, I should say, are an interesting thing because rings are an example of portable wealth. Now, when money was actually made of gold and silver back in the olden days, shall we call them, the Victorian era, let's say, for the gentry that had that disposable income, investing in gold seemed a bit pointless because it was literally in your pocket. This stuff that we see here on the table, these sovereigns, was your money. So you didn't need to invest in gold because your money kind of did that for you. Once we started moving away from the gold standard, that's where you could theoretically, as a private individual, look to maybe hold gold a bit better and have that over time. But back in the day when this was actual money, people would go out and they'd spend it. And they wouldn't think about the fact that they're moving their gold into something else. Now we have this sort of mentality, and certainly in Stacker Land and YouTube Gold and Silver Land, we have this mentality that gold is something that you need to keep and hold. And I would certainly argue that based on how the prices are going for it. So back in those days, they would have had things like jewelry. Now, I am not saying in any way that you should go out and you should buy bits of jewelry. Certainly no precious stones and stuff like that. That's a minefield, and I'm never going to really do that. But I saw something like this off the Silver Forum. I think I showed this in a video a couple of months ago. Really, really nice, interesting piece. Not precious stones in any way. There's some gold content around in the bracelet itself. But, portable wealth like this, if these were real stones, really valuable stones anyway, back in the day was the answer. So that portability factor has been something that is of importance to a lot of people throughout history. And you've only got to look at how we are in this modern world right now and think, well, if your portable wealth is a giant brick of silver like this, that's just not practical. And it's not really very easy to... I mean, yes, you can go and have 100 ounce silver, but let's be honest, 100 ounce silver right now is worth £2,390 or whatever the spot price is. it's not really going to save you, is it? Like, it's going to get you through a couple of weeks or months if the world's hit the fan and everything's going to shit, but it's not really going to transport your wealth through time. And if you've got all of your wealth locked up in silver and you've, say, got £50,000 worth of silver, then that's going to be an awful lot of weight. You're not going to be able to move that quickly. If somebody comes to take you out at your house because they know you've got something that they want, food, medicine, whatever it might be, and you want to try and bug out with your silver, that's not going to be that possible. But gold, anytime. Any time of day or night. And so I think right now in our modern society, we're seeing that gold, by the way, for those that are wondering, that's just empty. That's where I keep the gold ring. For those that are wondering about our modern society and world, about where things are going, we have, I think, moved away from being able to, I mean, yes, you can still buy expensive jewelry, and certainly there are plenty of examples of things like that that are out there, but they don't really have, I mean, we're in this world now where people will try and make a buck off anything. I don't mean this to be a political channel, and I'm not going to comment on the political nature of it, but for example, I saw in the news this week that Donald Trump has released these $100,000 watches, supposedly with a bunch of gold in each of them. Sure, okay, I mean, when you look at the maths of it, he says there's like 200 grams worth of gold in each watch. That's worth about $6,000. So the rest of the money that's in that watch is all fake. It's all about what you think it's worth, what somebody else might think it's worth paying. This stuff actually has an inherent value that we as a collective human species will attribute value to, and we will have that. You can go to somebody and you can use your gold to barter for things. Will you be able to use a Trump branded watch to buy everything you might need in the future? Maybe, but I mean, if somebody gave that to me, I'd be like, well, I mean, it's got some gold content in it, but that's about it, and that's all I really care about. And in a brown stuff hit the fan scenario, that's all you're going to care about. Now, it doesn't have to be Trump watches. There are plenty of other examples of designer jewelry brands. Even our famous Royal Mint here in the UK has their own jewelry brand, which is a complete and utter joke. They can't even get their hallmarking pictures right on their website, but that's another video for another time. But expensive bits of jewelry, yeah, not really going to be practical. You know, you're going to be spending a lot of money on them. You're not going to get any kind of semblance of value out of them at the other end. It beggars belief. And a prime example, let's go here. So the wedding ring that I have, it's a platinum wedding ring. And I remember when we were shopping for our wedding rings, when Mrs. Backyard Bullion and I were tying the knot, we decided to go for platinum because platinum is, supposedly, or it was at the time anyway, a little bit more expensive than gold, and that's kind of where we wanted to be, one of the platinum rings, you know, something that's just a bit different. Also, I didn't really like the idea of a gold ring on my finger. I liked the idea of something a bit more sort of subdued, like platinum. So, but when I looked back at what we paid for this platinum ring and what platinum's price was at the time, I paid about 7 or 8 times the value of the metal that's in here. I'm still considerably underwater as a monetary investment on the jewelry that I bought here. You know, if I was going back now to get married to Mrs. Backyard Bullion, perhaps if we were getting our rings remade or something, I'd 100% go for something, I don't know, maybe even like a coin ring, because the price over the spot value of gold for something like this was not a lot. And, you know, it's something that's pretty cool. Not that I would necessarily have a coin ring for my sort of wedding ring, but the point is that there are plenty of different ways of just going to a big brand and having, you know, what I kind of don't like the phrase, but what all the sheep do in the world. You know, there's lots of people who'll just go and they'll buy something because they think that's the way that you preserve wealth and you have that. It's not. Gold is the better way to do it. It's a portable, flexible savings account that will do you way better than, in my opinion, any other kind of portable practical wealth. So will we see the rise once again of simple bits of jewelry? There's been a few different brands that have tried to bring back like pure gold jewelry at affordable prices, but the amount of time and work and labor that it takes to put in to create these kind of things is very high, and that's always got to be reflected in wages. And that's sort of the same reason with sort of things like poured silver, that their prices are high, because you put time in and people's time is worth money to them, and that's kind of the whole premise of it. So where does that leave us with silver, I hear you may be asking at 14 minutes into the video. If you are still watching, then kudos to you, you are amazing. But the point here that I'm trying to make is not that silver is so bad that you shouldn't buy it, because in our modern world, I don't think that there is going to be an opportunity where you will have to completely bug out on a moment's notice. The only exception to that would be, in my opinion, natural disasters. You could never predict something that might happen along those lines. But I do think that if there are going to be, any real reasons for you to completely bug out and have to take everything with you at a moment's notice, there are bigger things to worry about. And in my opinion, it's probably practical to have a mix of everything, because it's so unlikely to really happen that you will just be able to work around the inflexibility and unportability. Is that even a word? I don't know. It is now, of silver. You know, the whole premise that you can't have silver because it's so impractical is, I mean, you could argue I'm being hypocritical because I'm saying this right now in this video, but I have silver. I have kilos upon kilos of silver that I chop up on a weekly basis to make my poured silver. I have this 100-ounce bar of silver, which is impractical in its own right. So I don't think there's a real problem with it, but if you're buying it specifically because you think that you're going to have to bug out at some point, then think again. Gold's better. It is. It always has been. It always will be. And I'm afraid to say that silver is never really going to have its day when it comes to that kind of world. It's just not. And if you think that silver is going to equalize down to the 8-to-1 ratio with gold and become thousands of dollars an ounce, then I'm sorry, you'll be waiting a very long time. Because, as I kind of have tangentially come back round to in the 16th minute of the video, the way that we have wealth in our society now is different. Back when you needed portable wealth, you would have rings and gemstones and various other little things like that, trinkets that you could take with you wherever you might be. Gold now is that for the human race. We don't need to have these fancy bits of jewelry anymore because we can quite easily and affordably buy our gold. It's no longer currency, so it doesn't make a difference. If you just had a bunch of cash on you back in those Victorian times, it would be pointless. It would just be having cash. But the practicality of having portable wealth in a fancy ring was much more desirable for those people in that society. So I think we're in this new epoch, this new era where the practicality of gold just far outweighs everything else. It really does, and it will continue to do so. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on this subject. Now, if anyone would still like to moan at me for taking 17 minutes to talk about it, then please feel free to do so. I love it when people have the attention span of a goldfish. If you have, though, enjoyed our video and our rambles, that's what we do best, and it's great to hear from you. I'd love to see all of my cool kids clubs down in the comment section. And to tell whether you are a cool kids club member, you need to tell me the serial number on this beautiful Engelhard bar. For those that listen but don't watch, the serial number is P677433. Put that down in the comment section. And also, if you haven't already, guess how many sovereigns are there? Shall I tell you? I'll tell the Cool Kids Club. There are 67 sovereigns, 67 half sovereigns, I should say, which is very, very cool. So 67 times 240. Oh my goodness, that's a bit more than I thought it was going to be. There's £16,000 on the table. In secure storage, it's going. So yeah, anyway, portable wealth. You can do a lot more with gold than you can with silver. That's my message. Thanks very much all. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.